it's true. It is true that violence is unacceptable, but it's the very same people that overlook the charred flesh of dead Palestinian children and just say, hey, man, there's a reason for it. October 7. Remember October 7. Hamas.
We don't expect that today, but here it's, one of my sons texted me and said it's so tragic, and this is over hurt feelings. Charlie Kirk never hurt anyone. He just had political opposition to some people and religious beliefs that were in opposition to some people. And because of those belief differences, he's now dead. And we can't survive as a nation when someone who speaks differently than you, who says things you don't agree with, is somebody you're willing to kill. And I don't know how we get past this without bringing people together. And you mentioned early in the story how Charlie Kirk liked to go to these rallies and ask questions of people that disagreed with him so they could debate. And debate is the one thing that's lacking in the country.
So we have Emma back now from the Deseret News. Emma, can I just ask you, when that question happened, and just to be clear, we understand, they're pointing to the possibility of this person having been on the roof. That's the entire direction that this is going right now, that's the person of interest, person on the roof, and sniper. But the question obviously was asked from the ground. But could you see anything about the questioner? When at the press conference, they seemed to indicate they still didn't know who that individual was.
I'll be honest, I hadn't thought of it, but when that journalist had asked that, it kind of did. It made me pause and think, it's almost like a dark irony of that was the question that was asked. But again, we don't know enough information, and law enforcement hasn't shared more on that.
Yeah, we don't know. Of course, as we played it, the question was about transgender shooters right before the shot was fired. Adam Wren, you have been on this program so many times because of your incredible reporting on MAGA influencers and those media juggernauts in the MAGA influencer world. Charlie Kirk, one of them. You interviewed him multiple times for Politico. I know you spoke to Laura Loomer tonight, who is also obviously crucial in the movement and knew Charlie Kirk well. So what is the reaction? What are you hearing from MAGA about this horrific, what seems to be assassination?
Yeah, Aaron, I spoke with Charlie just a few weeks back for a story about whether the MAGA coalition could stay together and what Vice President J.D. Vance's role in that was. And, he told me that he thought that Vance would inherit the coalition, that he wanted to see him, if Vance himself wanted to see him run in 2028, but was always sort of struck by his cheeriness. He, always seemed to be, in a good mood about this. But what I'm hearing from influencers like Laura Loomer is they see this moment as a real rallying cry for the right. They want the left to be punished over this. They see the left as producing a disproportionate number of violent people. They point to the assassination attempts against President Trump last year. And of course, we can zero back in and find instances of the right on violence as well. But they clearly see this as a rallying cry and want vengeance. Some of them have used that word specifically, vengeance. Loomer is saying that this was a professional hit job on Charlie Kirk. And so it doesn't seem like we can unwind the Gordian knot of political violence here.
I mean, the word vengeance is a horrible word. I know others have used even worse. Horrible in the context of where we are right now. Juliet.
I feel like I'm going crazy. Like, these guys talk about like the unacceptable form of violence. It's true. It is true that violence is unacceptable, but it's the very same people that overlook the charred flesh of dead Palestinian children and just say, hey, man, there's a reason for it. October 7. Remember October 7. Hamas. What do you think? Like, obviously, these two things are not the same. I mean, I see those images as well. I'm shocked by the cruelty of human nature, shocked by the cruelty of all people who look at that and just, go along with their days without, like, even reconsidering their position on America's allegiances or whatever. But like, what do you think is happening when you present all of this unlimited ultra violence all the time on television, constantly, and justifying it? Like, we become a more violent nation as a consequence of that. This is it. Why are we treating this death any differently from Brian Thompson's? What do you mean? Are you talking about we as in this community? Or are you talking about like people in general? Because there's plenty of people still also saying, RIP Pack Watch or whatever. If you're asking me why, my assessment in this is way more restrained think a little bit. It's not that hard for you to comprehend, don't you think? As a person who is the recipient of numerous death threats every single fucking day, what happened to Charlie Kirk is who I was supposed to be debating 2 weeks from now. It's a little it's a little bit closer to home. Like, think about it, especially as like people are actively fantasizing about doing vengeance to left content creators right now. I mean, I don't like Charlie Kirk. I did not like Charlie Kirk. I think his worldview is horrifying. I think he's a bad person overall. But I also knew Charlie Kirk for the past 10 years. I've debated Charlie Kirk. I've stood next to him on a public stage twice. And it's not even just about Charlie Kirk necessarily, but it's also what I suspect. It's also what I suspect is going to take place in the aftermath of this, whether it be decentralized forms of violence from people who are seeking out vengeance. You know, more often than not, it's already right-wingers who more often than not, it's right-wingers that are engaging in this, even when the target is right-wing themselves. Okay. But also on top of that, there is going to be administrative control here too. There's going to be political repression, more political repression, I suspect. For those of you who are wondering, like, will I go outside again? Yes, of course. I can't let fear dictate my life. Okay. Don't be crazy.
And I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. And I think that's the environment we're in, that people you can't stop with these sort of awful thoughts you have and then saying these awful words and not expect awful actions to take place.
Matt.
And that's the unfortunate environment we're in.
This is the first time I've heard someone say this. MSNBC on Charlie Kirk shooting. Hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. You can't stop these sort of awful thoughts you have. And then they issued a statement condemning it, and they retracted it, and they condemned it. I mean, yeah.
Aware of that at all?
Everywhere Charlie went, as far as I understand, there was opposition, and he continued to move forward. And it's inspiring to me to see a person, in spite of threats and force and pressure against him, that he continued to move forward, doing something that he loved. But he always did it in a civil fashion. He would debate ideas, but would never promote violence. And that is...
No, he, much like many others in the right, sheltered his violent rhetoric under the auspices of systematic forms of violence. Okay, when you say sucks to suck, Palestinian children are going to die, okay, that's objectively a violent statement, but you're simply promoting state violence in that regard, so it's not seen in the same vein as someone who is resisting against state oppression or state violence. That's it. Whenever he said, oh, there is no such thing as a Palestinian, as they were being ethnically cleansed, whenever he denied the genocide, those are objectively violent statements. The problem, of course, from the audience reception, and this is including liberals as well, and this is the major problem with like the way liberals often lose these sorts of conversations, is that as long as you refuse to reckon with systematic forms of violence, then obviously it's not going to be, as long as you don't understand that systematic forms of violence are still violence, no matter how normalized, you're not going to be able to comprehend that. You're not going to be able to understand that. This is how, like, here, I'll give you an example that liberals comprehend and understand, right? Abortion, okay? Restricting access to this medical procedure, this life-saving medical procedure, is denying women bodily autonomy, okay? So when you have a right-wing commentator who says, abortion is murder, we have to put an end to it, and then an administration that responds to those calls and actually tries to restrict access to this life-saving medical intervention, that inevitably leads to a shit ton of violence for a lot of women, including deaths for a lot of women who have ectopic pregnancies that they can't actually take care of, for example, because the medical professionals involved are terrified of legal repercussions. So then they die. That's violence. It's just a more socialized version of said violence. But you can always turn around and say, hey, that wasn't violent rhetoric at all. He just wanted to debate people. He just wanted to. No, he didn't. He didn't care about opposing perspectives. You can say political violence is completely unacceptable. I certainly believe that. Okay. You can say the images that you saw were gruesome and abhorrent. I certainly believe that. Okay. But you don't have to lie. But of course, that's all what these guys do. Is all that these guys do is just lie about this shit. And no, I don't think this is a cover-up for the Qatar bombing, dude. There's no need for a cover-up for Israel's unlimited belligerence, okay? It's very clear that America is not going to stop Israel at any point. They don't need to actually shelter the public from finally recognizing that, like, you know, Israel is an unstable nation. Okay. It's okay. In certain instances, like, you know, things are happening at all times. Two things can happen at the same time. It's fine. It's not always a conspiracy to direct your attention back to something else. Right has perpetrated 100% of the lethal U.S. political assassinations in the last 20 years. Includes all politically motivated attempts to kill or state or federal officials. Brett Kavanaugh scouted home. Steve Scalise shooting at the baseball game. Donald Trump tried to grab officer's gun. I mean, this doesn't have Donald Trump. Oh, scouted off golf course. Yeah, even the fucking shooting at the campaign rally. When did Trump try to grab a cop's gun? I guess someone tried to grab a cop's gun around Donald Trump or something. Holy fuck, the Yankees held a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk. Kirk founded the youth activist group Turning Point USA and had become a fixture on college campuses. Bro, the right dominates our fucking politics so aggressively. I mean, how can you look at this? I mean, how can you look at this and see anything else? I mean, they didn't even do this for a Democrat politician that got assassinated, you know? Like, not even like a influencer, a political commentator. They didn't do this for a Democrat politician that got assassinated. There is no way in which, like, I'm telling you, like, there is no, maybe for like Anderson Cooper would they do such a thing, you know? If a similar tragedy unfolded, but I don't know. Yeah, youth activist group stripping its ideological convictions of all of its meat until it's just a right-wing activist with a youth group.
Together, but just how close were they?
Look, Charlie Kirk was a singular person in the Trump movement. He was in many ways a beating heart of the MAGA movement and very close personally to Donald Trump himself and particularly to the Trump children, especially Donald Trump Jr. Donald Trump Jr. just a short while ago put out a lengthy statement about somebody he described as my friend Charlie Kirk, but he was more than my friend. He was more like a brother to me. And you saw that. They were often together. They traveled together. Their families were engaged together. He was more than just a pro-Trump activist. He was central to the Trump movement and also very close personally to the Trumps.
All right, Jonathan Karl, our thanks to you. Tonight, the president is asking that flags be flown at half-staff, and there are calls from Republicans and Democrats alike tonight to turn the temperature down in this country to stop the political violence. Mary Bruce joins us now live from the White House. Mary, we know that the Secret Service is not taking any chances tonight. Tell us about the level of security President Trump is now under.
Well, Lindsay, Secret Service tonight is trying to reassure the American public that they adjust their posture to respond to any evolving threats and making it clear that the president, as president, does have the highest level of protection. Of course, President
They're
Trump
lynching
himself
anyone who brings up
surviving
Charlie Kirk's actual deeds in his rhetoric. Even the most liberal media is on their knees kissing his feet. Yeah, I mean, it feels like a full-blown capitulation to right framing on every issue. I mean, it makes sense. It's a tragic incident, so.
On both sides of the aisle tonight, these bipartisan condemnations, strong
It is kind of wild, though, that there's no half mast for the flags when it comes to like school shootings and shit.
President Barack Obama and Joe Biden, and also from Kamala Harris, who of course faced off with Donald Trump in that bitter race, a race in which Charlie Kirk played a pivotal role. Harris saying, quote, "Let me be clear, political violence has no place in America," adding, "We all must work together to ensure this does not lead to more violence." Lindsay.
And Mary, we've heard that there were reports of the president. We know that he went out to eat last night. Have they curtailed activities for the president today?
Well, the president cleared his schedule this afternoon after this horrific shooting, mostly just so that he could monitor what was going on. As we've discussed, they were incredibly close. The president was expected to have it here at the Rose Garden with cabinet secretaries and other officials. That was scrapped. The president tomorrow is still expected, of course, to mark the anniversary of 9/11. But the president personally monitoring this all afternoon. As we've been discussing, they were incredibly close, not just politically, but also personally, Lindsay.
All right, thanks so much. Mary Bruce reporting from the White House. And we'll, of course, stay on top of this shooting and bring you any more developments as soon as we get them. But we are tracking other news straight ahead. Police race to yet another school shooting in America. What we're learning about any casualties and the search for a suspect.
Nothing about that looked accidental.
Lester!
We found a secret room in the Laconia. The mob ran an illegal casino.
There's been this palace down here the whole time.
To be fair, I just found out this building has a gym.
I play cards here because it's the murder building. We need to go face to face with the mob.
I didn't realize there's ad breaks on the fucking YouTube live streams. That's crazy. Is 9/11 tomorrow too? I know. Sure glad that former governor of New York tried to fucking posterize me as the face of 9/11 in order to get a dig at his opposition yesterday. Fantastic stuff. Oh yeah, Parker was at the event apparently.
Hey everyone, I just got word that Charlie Kirk is dead. I was at the event and I was 30 to 40 feet away and I heard the gunshot.
That's so fucking crazy.
And I was so terrified. Everyone started running. I honestly, I wasn't sure if it was a gunshot in the beginning, but I assumed and I thought that it was likely that it was like a mass shooting or something like that. And I just started running. And all the people around me started running their hardest. And there were people dry heaving and throwing up and crying due to everything because it's fucking scary. And we heard for a bit that he was in critical condition and that he was alive, but he was just pronounced dead recently, according to the Washington Post. It's so fucking scary. It's so scary. And I really just wish the people in the comment section, because I looked at some of the comments of my video. It's so hard for me to deal with. I looked at some of the comments from the video and they're not worried about my safety or they're not worried about anyone's safety there. They're trying to justify it. And I just want people to know that.
This is Parker. He's one of the liberal debate guys. He was there. These guys, him and Dean, they follow Charlie Kirk around. And they try to debate him when he used to do these change my mind videos and stuff like that. I'll be honest, bro. I mean, it's a traumatic incident, dude. He was there, it's understandable that he would feel some type of way. I think you would be traumatized too, even if you fucking despise Charlie Kirk.
Charlie's family, his daughter is going to live without a dad. His wife is going to live without a husband. And that's not okay. And that's horrible. And no one should be justifying that. And any single person that's in the comment section that is saying that or who does believe that, I want you to unfollow me and unsubscribe to me right now because there's a clear line of division between us. And I don't support you. And I think what you believe is fucking horrible. And my thoughts and wishes go out to Charlie's family and anyone who is there and traumatized, honestly, how I am. It is honestly genuinely terrifying.
Seeing someone die on video and in real life in front of you is not the same shit. Chad doesn't get it. Yeah. I mean, he could have been fucking domed there. He was there. You know what I mean? He was right there. He's probably in shock. Look, like I said, the reason there are of course a fuck ton of people who are on the right who would absolutely celebrate a role reversal style situation. Hopefully we never get to experience it. Okay. And of course there's going to be people who are liberals who have the same kind of attitude. I can't expect people to look at this guy if the only output that they've seen of him is just spewing bile, That's it. Especially if you just see people as just people that you see on camera. If you see them as not real human beings, but instead as just beacons of vectors of hate or beacons of political ideology. It's, I get where that comes from. Who was the reverse target? You? Yeah, I mean, yes. But I think for him, it's just he was there. So it's a little bit different.
To have literally someone die within 30 to 40 feet of you that you've interacted with, that you've engaged with. And I don't like Charlie Kirk as a person. I don't like the ideology.
Yeah, I mean, he's a horrible, monstrous person, or was a horrible, monstrous person. That's why I'm not going to sit here and launder his reputation or anything like that. You can look at an act of violence and say, well, that's not great. And especially the impact of this action is going to be, I hope I'm wrong for this, but I hope I'm wrong in this assessment, but I do think that it's going to be far more consequential. But having said that, a lot of people are actively laundering his reputation in real time on the liberal side too. And I guess that's a very liberal position to have. For me, it's this is why I always say my advocacy is for universal policies because I believe that everyone deserves healthcare, for example. Everyone deserves a leg up. Everyone deserves not to be a part of, everyone deserves not to experience the financial struggles that cripple them, that destroy them. Okay. Everyone means everyone. Universality means every single person, including people who you despise. Because the goal should always be to improve material conditions to a certain degree where that kind of attitude is seen as like unsustainable. That kind of attitude is seen as ridiculous by all. So for me, it's like, you know, while this is a tragic incident, you know, I'm not going to sit here and launder his reputation. Of course, Chris Rufo is immediately. The last time the radical left orchestrated a wave of violence and terror, J. Edgar Hoover shut it down all within a few years. It is time, within the confines of the law, to infiltrate, disrupt, arrest, and incarcerate all of those who are responsible for this chaos. Like, I cannot begin to explain this enough. Why has no one said Melissa Hortman's name? Chatter, if you keep spamming it a million times over in the one community where Melissa Hortman's name has been mentioned in this process, I'm sure you will get the message across. Please, I already talked about this, okay? I brought it up numerous times. Chatter. Please stop spamming. Anyway, once again, even if this was literally like a radical Antifa shooter, okay? Even if it comes out that the suspect's motives were like that they are a radical Antifa shooter, this kind of reaction, this kind of retaliation is insane, okay? Moldman did a video and the comments are all calling for Dem/leftists to be killed. Exactly. People love saying like, oh man, this kind of violent rhetoric is going so far. Meanwhile, on the right, they're just like fantasizing about how they're going to assassinate every leftist and liberal.
Who was there covering it. And Emily, it was a huge crowd. We understand at least 3,000. I mean, what was it like in the moments just before the shooting as you were there?
You know, I was standing among a group of mostly college-aged kids. There were a lot of folks who were pretty excited, big fans of Charlie Kirk, excited to see him there answering questions. There were also folks who clearly weren't students, adults with their kids in tow, and also just, you know, students who were onlookers. There were a number of students who were there counter-protesting with counter-messaging, holding up signs. But generally, the majority of the crowd were supporters of Charlie Kirk. And, you know, there were chants of Trump, USA, and a lot of people who'd come who were either university students from this area or who'd traveled from other parts of Utah just to see him.
So it sounds like you say mostly college students, but others that did come from other places, including people with children. I mean, so mostly college, but a diverse crowd in that sense. Then when this happened, the question happens on transgender shootings, right? And right after that question is when he was shot. Did you realize immediately what had even happened?
Immediately after we had heard the gunshot, everyone hit the ground. I initially wasn't sure if it was a prank or it was real. There were screams, and then we saw police officers coming with their hands on their weapons. And I realized, okay, this is serious. Initially, after I heard the shot, you know, I went to the ground with everyone else. And as soon as I looked back at the table where Charlie Kirk was seated, he was gone. So really didn't realize what had happened until I started talking to some of the attendees who had seen what had happened, had seen him be shot.
Emily, I appreciate your time and thank you very much for sharing that. I know, reliving it's difficult, so thank you. Alyssa Farah-Griffin is here with me, Ellie Reeve and David Axelrod. And Alyssa, you knew Charlie Kirk. You both came up, in the Republican Party, obviously different political views over time, right? But you knew him. What was your reaction to this as you see this today? You're looking at your phone, you go, oh my God.
It's devastating. Like even just hearing you say it, that Charlie Kirk has passed and that he was assassinated, that we're saying those words is shocking. He was a huge figure in Republican politics. He was a little younger than me. He came up under me. And I remember thinking when he hit the scene, it was like, who is this young guy who's going to college campuses, engaging people directly, and he's really energizing Republicans to feel like on college campuses when they're minority voices, they can speak up. There are going to be devastating.
This is not going to lead to gun control.
With this loss. And listen, I'm just thinking of his family. I'm thinking of his friends. He was 31.
This is not going to lead to gun control. If you think that it's going to lead to gun control, you're wrong.
And I'm thinking also of the West Wing.
They didn't lead to gun control after Steve Scalise was fucking shot at the congressional baseball game. And that dude had actively pushed for legislation that ended up unironically harming him. Like he was a A-ranked NRA A-ranked congressperson. So I don't think it'll go anywhere for gun control at all. I think this will be utilized by the administration to enact unimaginable political repression for those who they have designed, who they have designated as enemies of the state, leftists.
The left has been saying put a bullseye on Trump, a bullseye on his supporters.
Charlie Kirk's a casualty of war. We're in this country. We are.
They are at war with us.
Yeah,
whether
look,
we want to accept it or not,
you see that?
they are.
This is good. This is good coverage.
What are
this
we
is
gonna
good
do about
coverage.
it?
Talk about the fucking violent rhetoric, you know?
Ellie, you wanted to go cover Charlie on this tour next week, actually, because he was going across the country, college to college. You've interviewed him. What are you learning from his supporters now when we hear things like that from people like Steve Bannon and Alex Jones?
Yeah,
Fox
there's
News?
basically two types of reactions. First, there's horrified, speechless. People who professionally speak for a living are afraid to talk. Like Candace Owens didn't have her show tonight. A publicist for conservative activists told me people were too devastated to speak. CJ Pearson, a conservative influencer, told me the conversation among other influencers was like, is it too dangerous to do this work? Mm-hmm. The other reaction is, this is an escalation of political violence. There's going to be more. One guy told me it would be very, very bad for the left when the right actually was provoked into responding. They see it as a very one-sided battle.
David, with the context of history, how precarious is this moment?
I just don't think this is going to scare
I think it's very
far right figures into submission or not speaking. If anything, this is going to stop leftists and liberals from doing any sort of public incidents because these guys are screaming bloody murder all over the fucking internet.
And you mentioned history. I was a kid when we went through a period of assassination in the 1960s. I remember when Martin Luther King was killed, Robert Kennedy went onto the streets of Indianapolis. He was a candidate for president at that time. And it was very, very dangerous, frankly, for him to be out there, but he insisted on going and he spoke to the crowd. And Aaron, he finished, and I wanted to share this, he finished with a poem by Aeschylus, the ancient Greek poet, and it was, even in our sleep, pain which cannot forget falls drop by drop upon the heart until in our own despair against our will comes wisdom through the awful grace of God. The question is, have we seen enough to embrace wisdom here and recognize that this is not a path that we want to go as a country? And let's be clear, I heard what those folks said.
Charlie Kirk being compared to Martin Luther King, what is happening, bro? What am I, like, do these guys also not understand, like, this level of heavy-handed, this kind of, like, heavy-handed posturing is unironically is playing a formative role in laundering his ideology as like a normal one, a good one, a positive force.
And he said, Jack, I'm never going to quit.
He knew about the security too, because he says, hey, I can't get too much security because it cuts me off from the young people. Yeah. It cuts me off from the crowd.
Right, and that's why today.
Yes, there's mad people who have reached out for comments on this. Every media outlet has.
That's not the environment he wanted. And you spoke to someone at Turning Point USA about the threats. What did they tell you?
Yeah, I talked to Rob Smith, who used to work at Turning Point with Charlie, and he said that they knew threats, they were just constant and daily. He said that every major conservative influencer speaking at that level gets constant threats. And it's really just chilling to know that. I mean, what people said when I talked to them was like, they get lots of people saying horrible things to them online all the time, and they don't know who's a keyboard warrior and who's actually capable of violence.
Right. I mean, that's the terrifying thing. Alyssa, let me just play some of the things that Kirk has said, right? So people can understand more about him, right? And I had mentioned earlier, there were times when he challenged Trump, for example, on Epstein, right? He really wanted more transparency on Epstein. But obviously, in most issues, he was really at the front lines of what Trump wanted to put out there. And for those who aren't that familiar with him, let me just play some of Charlie.
We need to keep the pressure on these universities. While young people are moving dramatically to the right, I see this on my college campus tour, which is kicking off again on Wednesday in Utah. These universities themselves, the institutions, they are not adapting the way they should. Parents need to act accordingly. Alumni need to act accordingly. Board of directors, lawmakers, we need to start defunding these schools if they continue to defy President Trump's amazing executive orders.
Just a few days ago, right? That was just a few days ago. And he's so young, as a husband and a father. But that was his political point of view, right? Like, that is what he's out there saying.
Yeah, and Gen Z is going to be the most right-wing generation in 50 years. Statistically speaking, there was a huge turnout of youth voters for Donald Trump. That was unexpected, something that's usually a Democratic stronghold. There's probably no individual more responsible for that than Charlie Kirk. You really can't underestimate and downplay how influential he was in activating young people and how hand in hand he was working with the Trump campaign to turn out younger voters. And I would just say this, echoing what David said.
He was a father and a husband is the nicest thing you can say about him, which is why everyone is repeating it. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm, like I said, I'm a little biased.
Keyboard warrior, he wasn't threatening people. That is how a
You missed the point. After MLK got shot, RFK got shot 2 months later, he was stating that the political violence begets more political violence. Yeah, except
acolytes who were taking it
neither of those figures are comparable to Charlie Kirk.
What happens now?
And also, those figures are not like antagonistic either.
Very good question, and it goes back to what we were talking about before.
Actually, as a matter of fact, it shows a similar pattern. Anyway, I don't know. I just, you all right, man? No, I'm not all right.
On that, as we look at Charlie Kirk's vast.
I don't know how to communicate I don't know how to communicate in this moment, because it's like, how do you feel as though, how can you communicate that a violent act is unacceptable while simultaneously not offer sympathies to the person who was killed in the process? You know what I mean? Because I don't think anybody deserves this in general. I don't think anyone deserves this. Nobody deserves that. That's always been my position. So it's a problem for so many different. It's a problem that contains multitudes, right? Where, and I said this in the aftermath of Luigi Mangione allegedly shooting and killing Brian Thompson as well. Like this kind of decentralized, violent initiatives taken on by adventurists are reflected on in the way that they are reflected on because it is a pressure valve. Okay. And they only happen in the absence of real political change that people are desperate for. Does that make sense? You understand? It's like, I want to fix this system so that never happens. It's just, I don't know how to, I don't know if I'm doing the best job explaining it. But even from the aspect of gun control, before we arrive at all of the other unimaginably cruel and violent things that Charlie Kirk has advocated for, while still sheltering himself from coming across as like truly a violent individual, because he's just demanding more of that same kind of permissible form of violence, systematic forms of cruelty. Even on the aspect of gun control or a lack of gun control, like his advocacy on the matter was to distract away from real reasonable solutions, to put the crosshairs back on vulnerable populations, marginalized populations, claim that it's like trans shooters that are doing. Like, that was the last thing that he was debating before he got killed. A victim to his own advocacy in many ways. And that advocacy has caused so much death and so much destruction, you know? What? Why are you sending me this link? That's a crazy link, dude. That's a crazy link. You said breaking, and then you sent me one of the craziest things, dude, that I've ever seen about who the potential person of interest is. I mean, I don't know if that's the case or not, but goddamn, just like dial it back for a second, you know? Yeah, he died mid-sentence claiming how most shootings were gang-related and gun control wasn't needed. Yeah, columnist for Fox News, I know, but like we don't know yet. How have they not confirmed a shooter yet? There's a person of interest, but they don't know. They don't know if they're conducting more investigations right now.
Kids are feeling the effects of what we like to call, with the Washington economy, with a lot of debt, plummeting small business, with higher regulation and high taxes.
When he did not get into West Point, Kirk dropped out of college and turned to political activism with a fury.
Universities are not about the pursuit of knowledge.
If it's that guy that the person presented as, then it's a person that works for the Heritage Foundation. That sounds insane.
That is rooted in bigotry, trying to classify people based on their skin color. If a woman is going to have an abortion, is it 50% the man's decision?
His outspoken ways drew a huge following and fierce opposition.
How do you feel about being called a fascist? What's your opinion on that?
I don't care being lied about.
Why is it a lie?
Because I'm not a fascist. I believe in a free society. Let me ask you, who's the fascist? The guy that's smiling in the sun, or the 500 people barking trying to prevent me from speaking?
Wow. What an expert debate. Yeah. If I'm a fascist, well, I'm smiling.
More.
How does that? In order
you didn't even
to create more conservatives,
that's not a counter
and more
narrative.
people who love the country, you need to have the 3 M's.
Young people need to get married, they need to mate, and get a mortgage.
Bro, these are literally
three
some
M's
of
are
the
three
most,
things
like, the
the
least
Democrat
offensive
Party is
things they can
against.
find of Charlie Kirk, by the
For
way.
all of his really extremist views,
Like,
in the political
you had a bunch of CNN producers scour the internet to try and find perhaps the best liberal-facing Charlie Kirk clips. That was it. It was a short compilation, and that was it. You cannot tell me that that wasn't a deliberate attempt to try to make him look. What? The subject in custody has been released after an interrogation by law enforcement. Our investigation continues, and we will continue to release information in the interest of transparency. Oh my God. Ain't no fucking way. Dude. Oh, dude, what the fuck? Brother. Is he talking about George Zinn or is he talking about the new guy? Bro, there is what? Some might say the shooter never existed, I guess. Are they going to find a guy? Patel is just in a time warp. He's releasing the news that is hours old. Actually kind of funny. No shot. No shot. What the fuck? Stop sending me that Carol link, please. Yo, what is crazy about this? What is crazy about this process is like, I can't tell if they're just like so incompetent. How is this possible? Red state, by the way. Maybe Trump should be sending the National Guard to red states. Seemingly, the law enforcement, the law enforcement operation there is not up to snuff. What the fuck? I can't believe it, dude. Wow. It's fucking real bad out here, dude.
Hey, stop, folks. Stop, back up.
Charlie Kirk died a short time later. He was 31. He was a husband and a father of 2 young children. The president announced his death online. He wrote, the great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth.
The second guy they arrested was wearing completely different clothing from the police scanner in the roof video, but was only 2.5 miles away when they arrested him and apparently had a gun on his dash. Are you fucking kidding me? So you mean to tell me Utah cops went and arrested the first Utah guy with a fucking long barrel rifle? It's Utah. It's an open carry state. What do you mean? You're literally, you have to arrest everyone in Utah, I guess. What the fuck? Dude, yeah, no shit. Yeah, no shit. The guy, wow, you mean to tell me there was a guy with a fucking hunting rifle in a 3-mile radius of a shooting at any given moment in the state of Utah? This is the second guy that they've apprehended and released now, by the way. The first guy that they apprehended and released, they didn't even release, by the way. The first guy they actually still kept in jail for obstruction of justice, even though he wasn't the right guy at all. And he was very clearly a dude experiencing like a mental health episode. These 2 posts are the most embarrassing thing I've seen from an FBI director. So this is the guy that they fucking arrested. And it's a pellet gun with a silencer on it. Ruger Yukon Magnum 177 pellet. Oh, it's not even a silencer. It's just a pellet gun that has this thing on it. Okay, look, I don't traffic in like Gladio. You're smiling in your thumbnail. Change it. What thumbnail am I smiling in? What? I don't make these thumbnails, by the way. My editors do, but what are you talking about? Is it like a fucking random fan account or something? Or you mean my Twitch thumbnail? It looks like a smirk. Okay, you guys are fucking crazy. I think that's called a muzzle brake. I don't know why we would need it on a pellet. Second suspect released. Shooter still at large. Alex Jones drops a car vid. Bro, I was going to say, listen to me. Listen, I'm not like Mr., domestic Gladio, but god damn, dude, this has the fucking fixins of a domestic Gladio. If they can't find a fucking suspect, what are we doing here? Holy shit. It's actually wild, dude. Like, numerous people actually see the shadowy figure on a rooftop. He just gets away scot-free. Motherfuckers in Mexico by now. What the hell? It's been more than 1.5 hours. Nothing has been leaked about the so-called subject in the Charlie Kirk shooting. Only thing so far is they have a 25-year-old person of interest. Also didn't have helicopters up, so they aren't searching. Like, I don't even know what the weapon that was used. What was the weapon that was used? What was the bullet? I don't know about the no helis thing. Okay, just calm down. That's just like a random Twitter account. But like, listen to my words. Did they say what it was?
I was sitting in this parking lot Well, I started crying a few months ago. Charlie Kirk was a really sweet person. I first met him back in 2016 at the RNC in Cleveland. He was so young. He had to be like 20-something years old then, so happy, so full of life. He had big plans. How he was going to galvanize all the kids on campuses to vote Republican, wake them up to communism. And they killed him today with a high-powered rifle. Classic stuff. It's like crooks in Pennsylvania running around the roof. Nobody's doing anything. They shot him and killed him. And the left's celebrating it. All the Democrats calling for violence. It's everything else is just sick filth. But, Charlie Kirk really is a hero and a family man and somebody that had a real vision. And the left and the globalists have really screwed up because, look, there's safety in numbers. And I was honest in videos I posted. I said, I don't do a bunch of public events. I don't go to colleges because I guarantee you, if I went out for a year, 10, 15 events, I'll get shot dead. And I'm not scared of dying, but I can digitally and cyber level, really counter the globalist. And I remember telling people, I think I've even said it on air, I said, man, I'm surprised Charlie Kirk's not dead. Because the left can't deal with this. He knew what he was doing. He put himself out there on the front lines, and he got millions of votes for Trump. And people that bitch and complain about Trump say he's not getting the whole agenda done quick enough or whatever. He's getting so much done. It's amazing. It doesn't matter. It's about the team he brought forward and about the fact that we know Kamala Harris and Democrats are absolute criminal pedophile enablers. And it's about the RFK Jr.'s, the Tulsi Gabbards, and the Charlie Kirks. The left knew they couldn't attack Charlie Kirk frontally, so they kind of put out stories about this and that. He wasn't hardcore enough. He wasn't better enough. And a lot of people picked it up.
The left put out stories about Charlie Kirk not being hardcore enough. It was the left. It was the woke globalist left that was saying like Charlie Kirk is a servant of the administration when it comes to the Epstein stuff or when it comes to Israel. Like, what do you mean? Who is the left in this regard? Yeah. Me, a leftist, always saying, Charlie Kirk, you need to be more racist, man. Why aren't you racist enough? You're not racist enough for my taste. I love racism and I want more of it. Like that's what the fuck was going on, I guess.
He's getting people registered to vote Republican. And they're night and day to Democrats. They're not perfect, they're night and day. So he wasn't afraid to face evil. He wasn't afraid to put his life on the line. And I'm not the guy to act tough. Charlie Kirk had more courage than me. I've been honest about this on air. And I wouldn't even call it courage because I'm willing to die. I do a lot of events and go out and get attacked. And I'm just saying, you go out on a regular basis and you're an Alex Jones or Charlie Kirk around the country for years. I mean, somebody's going to shoot at you. And I've had my security and other security firms just say, Jones, you shouldn't even do it when I do it. I have to do it when I have to, when there's a lockdown or some incredible border tyranny and they're smuggling kids.
Dude, this is so funny. Look at this. So Brian Krasenstein posts, fuck you, coming after you, at FBI Director, at Kash Patel, at X. Asmongold responds, you thought you were cute with the 8647 shirts and other coded calls for violence. Now it's happening to you. It's not going to stop. Now it's only going to get worse, and no one should have any sympathy for you. Be safe. Meanwhile, he just literally like an hour ago was like, oh, we got to stop these calls for violence. Dog, 8647 is a call for violence? Are we for fucking real? This same guy, by the way. Anyone surprised that what happened to Charlie Kirk hasn't been paying attention? Go anywhere, Reddit, Twitter, etc., and you'll find thousands of unhinged direct calls to violence over politics until it's addressed for what it is. Things like this will continue to happen. 12:46 p.m. September 10th. 4:54 p.m. September 10th. He's like, yep. You said 8647. 8647. That was a call to assassinate the president. Like if that's enough for someone to be the recipient of death threats, which by the way, I mean, this is like, this is every day, 1,000 times a day for me. But it's just, I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. 8647 is just like, cancel Trump, like a cancellation of the order. But Republicans tried to make like fake controversy out of it to be like, oh, this is an assassination request. Remember, it was the former FBI director, Jim Comey, that posted that. Like, it means get rid of, dude. What is this? Did you see this loser cry bullying about you? Wait, what? What is this? Hopefully Hasan gets black bagged one day by Sam Hyde. Streamer Hasan Piker makes a public appeal against fascism at the National March. You are a despicable piece of shit. Surely people on the right will now stop calling for the death of Hasan, right? Surely they will now take a moment to think that their words have real consequences, right? This guy says you're a despicable piece of shit. Here he is saying, hopefully Hasan gets black bagged one day by Sam Hyde. Every single person online talking about the Charlie Kirk situation right now that is on the political right has at some point actively called for my death. Okay? Actively. Not that it fucking matters. Everybody does this so much that it's just like, it is what it is. You know, it's just every day. Every fucking day. But it's so funny. I promise you, you can literally search anyone that is currently talking about how really fucked up this situation is. Just go and look. Keyword search Hasan Piker in their fucking tweets if they haven't deleted it. Under every tweet I see, people are advocating for you to be next or saying you call for this. It's concerning. Now, what's really stupid about those people saying that is, why the fuck would I call for it if I was going to debate him 2 weeks from now, dumbass? I was supposed to fucking debate him. It makes no sense. Yeah, dude, yeah, definitely. I want to be shot and killed on stage alongside Charlie Kirk. That's what I wanted. I wanted there to be a fucking mass shooting incident, you know, in my own fucking public appearance as a political commentator. These people are so stupid. Anyway, do we know it's not a Groyper? Didn't they all hate him? We don't know. They're literally showing your tweets about Charlie criticizing him and saying he wanted him dead. Yeah. I don't think I would be, you know, I don't think I would put myself in a close proximity to Charlie Kirk if that was my wish, right? Because that would put myself in the crosshairs, don't you think? It makes no fucking sense. You know, something to consider. Maybe don't call for people's deaths then. You're worse than Charlie. We as a country need to be better, and you certainly aren't helping the issues here. What the fuck are you talking about? Sleepy Joe could have sleptwalked through this election. I like that these guys who watch people actively call for my death will then turn around and be like, you know, well, those guys actually claim that you call for the death of someone. Remember when they did that with what's his face? Remember when they were like, when I said if Republicans take, you know, Medicare fraud seriously, they would offer the capital punishment, the death penalty to their own famous Rick Scott incident. And they were like, that's a death threat, which of course it wasn't a death threat, because if it was, I would have been fucking visited by the FBI, you know? It's so funny that I have to sit here and act as though the motherfuckers that have spent the last year, and even longer than that, really, for some of them, who have openly said that I deserve to be killed by someone, shot down in the street by someone, are now talking about how I'm inciting violence. It's crazy. It's crazy. What do you do? Like, this guy literally said, I encouraged 9/11. I encouraged 9/11 when I was, what, 10? 9 years old? That's what you think? This is what I mean. Words mean things, okay? Anytime people are fucking running around being like, you did 9/11, you encouraged 9/11, all this shit. What do you think the reason for that is? Where do you think that's coming from? It's so that the next fucking targeted political assassination is me. That's it. It's a reality that I have lived with my whole career, and I'm just going to continue doing exactly what I'm doing. It is what it is. Not really anything you can do about it. That's it.
Cartels, you know, all that. Stop me. I mean, I'll do what I have to, but also understand as a brain trust.
Hasan loves this stuff, makes him richer, right? Yeah, no, totally, dude. I love being told I deserve death every fucking day. It's my favorite. What an incredibly cynical way to look at the situation. People will be like, wow, sure seems like a lot of people are tuning in right now to Hasan. He must be profiting off of this. It's like, dog, I was live before this incident, okay? I'm live every day. I cover the news. Does it look like I'm excited? Once again, I was looking forward to debating Charlie Kirk in Dartmouth. Is sub only off now? Where are these chatters coming from? No, we just put it on sub only just now. We normally never do sub only. Yeah, I don't run any ads. If you want to subscribe, you can. It's voluntary. You don't have to. I don't run any fucking ads after all. And on top of that, I don't even fucking monetize my shit. You can monetize it for yourself if you would like to do so. It just doesn't fucking matter.
I've got to kind of stay alive. And Charlie Kirk knew that, but he decided to, Christ-like, put it all on the line. And man, like watching that Ukrainian woman bleed to death and nobody help her, and then watching Charlie get hit by that high-powered rifle in the neck with such a blast wave, it makes his whole shirt go crazy. So I thought it was hitting the chest. I'm just like, damn, that's a man right there, man. That's a fucking...
Jesus Christ, bro. That is an insane assessment to make.
Man right there. He was smart. He knew it was coming, but he was so energetic and so positive. And we all say, this person won for Trump, that person won, Elon did it, I did it, Trump did it. Without all this team, we would have done it. Without Charlie Kirk, it wouldn't happen. And so The left's coming with their violence. They're coming with more attacks. And we can imagine the hell it'll be if we let them win and if we submit to them. So we're not scared of their attacks. And I guess the answer is we all have to go out. In fact, I'm going to announce I'm going to go into a nationwide tour of universities for Charlie.
Oh my Lord. That is crazy. That is crazy.
I think we can all do it. We have to take his example like Obi-Wan Kenobi in front of Darth Vader. And I was strategic about it. I'm like, well, I'm not going to do it because I'm not going to do better over here. But you know what? That's a cop-out. Because if one guy will do it and get killed and intimidates us, they win. No, we all have to peacefully hit the streets. We all have to speak out at city councils, colleges. Everybody's got to be Charlie Kirk now, like with Spartacus. It's a true story, not just in the famous Stanley Kubrick movie. The Romans are getting ready to crucify 10,000 plus people because they would tell them who Spartacus is. And they go, he finally steps forward and goes, I'm Spartacus. And everybody else goes, no, I'm Spartacus. We're all Charlie Kirk. That's what it's all about. So I promise I'm doing it. And I know I've got to put it out here. You know, if I go out and some leftist guns me down on the thing, it's an honor. It'll just be a bigger example of people because you guys have summoned the whirlwind. And that's what it comes down to. They can shut down the internet and censor us all tomorrow, but they can't stop us in the streets. We love you, Charlie. We love your family. We're so proud of you. Think about these bastards. The corporate media covers everything up. They love it. These conservatives really think they're a targeted group. I mean, that's a big part of their worldview, right? Permanent perceived victimhood. That's it. Of death, we're going to get them. We're going to save this country and the world together. Because people like Charlie Kirk's courage. We love you, Charlie. God bless you.
Fascists love claiming to be permanently in a state of victimhood by simultaneously weak and also all-powerful individuals. It's crazy because he's Mr. fucking mass shootings are fake, you know? Remember, he is such a proud advocate against gun control that he has gone to unimaginable lengths, including receiving tremendous financial repercussions for the lengths he went to, calling everything a false flag, including Sandy Hook, famously, which led to a torrent of hate and stalking against the victims of this horrifying mass shooting. I'm surprised not saying this shooting was a false flag operation set up. I guess it's a little bit different when it's not Sandy Hook, you know? When it's not victims, when it's kindergarten children that he doesn't know far away. But yeah, as I was saying, every single Republican today being like, this is despicable, you're a despicable piece of shit, whatever. Just key search if they're knowledgeable of who I am, key search Hasan. See what they've said about political violence against someone like myself. Not that it matters. You got to let this stuff wash over you, you know?
Ideas and challenging people's ideas, whether you agree with him or love him or loathe him. He was in the arena face to face with people across this country.
Yeah, and that's the point, is what is democracy? Actually, what is politics? Politics is a thing that humans invented to prevent violence, right? Because it used to be the cavemen, whoever had the biggest stick or whoever had the most friends, that's how you solved arguments. And we as humanity basically decided we need to put something in place so that we can do battle, but battle in the arena of ideas. And so, Charlie was an expert at that, at going forward and convincing people or not convincing them, being challenged by them or challenging them. But whether you liked him or you didn't like him politically, this is exactly what our country should be doing right now. And instead, when you see violence, whether it's Charlie Kirk or whether it's, the politicians in Minnesota, whatever it is, it means that democracy is failing, and it means that democracy is broken. And
I guess it's because it's got to be, to a certain degree, it's got to be white supremacy, right? Like, because nobody fucking cares. This is what boomers who had no idea who he was are watching. Yeah. If you're a liberal boomer, you think like this guy is a beacon of political excellence. Like all he wanted to do was discourse. And the reason why these guys say stuff like this is because I guess they're not black, they're not brown, they're not undocumented, they don't have any fucking trans people in their lives. Like they just don't give a shit about any of that stuff. Because like Charlie Kirk wasn't just like a regular dude, you know what I mean? And I guess in this day and age, no Republican is really a regular Republican when you think about it. But like every part of his advocacy, if you were to fucking let those videos run, would cause the CNN audience to have a very different reflection of who Charlie Kirk is and what his footprint looked like. Okay? The only way you just go, oh man, he was just like a regular ass dude. He really wanted to let a thousand flowers bloom, He just wanted to do discourse over and over again. Is I think doing a disservice to the truth, which of course fucking mainstream media doesn't even matter at this point, but
Bannon and those guys talking about how this is all proof of a war on MAGA. There's a body count across the ideological spectrum out there. And when you talk about there being a war, there's a real danger of activating a tiny subsection of the population who are going to believe that garbage and they're going to act on it. And we need a lot less of that kind of rhetoric right now.
Yeah, it certainly pours gasoline on what is already, an incendiary moment. David, President Trump obviously expressed his sadness over Charlie Kirk's murder and the assassination. Can you talk a little bit about the personal relationship between the two of them?
Yeah, Charlie was beloved. He's a part of the family. Trump has 3 sons. Well, Charlie Kirk is the adopted son. The president really liked Charlie, Don Jr., Eric, the family. Charlie was a welcome addition everywhere he went. Jonah's point, disagreements is what politics is about. Look, I don't agree with Gavin Newsom. I don't think Charlie Kirk agrees with Gavin Newsom. But it was refreshing to see Gavin Newsom and Charlie Kirk sitting down and sparring, right? Having a debate. A marketplace of ideas is what it's about. And when people are brave enough to do that, they should be rewarded, not assassinated. We need more Charlie Kirks in America, not less.
Congressman, to people considering... Go ahead, John.
Shooter really quickly, because the conspiracy theories are going to explode if they don't find this guy quick, and it's going to feed an even nastier environment. So, Godspeed to the FBI and to law enforcement in Utah, but they need to find this guy.
Congressman, to people considering getting into public service or political activism, and tonight certainly having second thoughts, or even having debates with people and not just sort of staying in your silo and arguing with your friends about who the enemy, what would you say to somebody tonight?
Look, it's a real concern of mine, because after I heard this news, I remember just feeling for about 10 seconds like I'm done with politics. Like this isn't worth it. And then, I thought better about it, but that's what a lot of people get. They're feeling exhausted, or they see violence and they check out. And so whether it's somebody running or even somebody just staying involved, this has a tendency to discourage that. But this is exactly the moment where people need to double down in how we do politics, in showing America and showing the world that we don't do this with violence. We do this by stepping up and stepping into the arena. So if you're thinking about running and you're thinking about not running because of this, you're probably the exact kind of person we need to run. Somebody who's doing it for the right reason, so we can show the world and show ourselves, more importantly than the world, that this works, we work, and we're going to succeed despite this really low moment.
Yeah. David, Adam, Jonah, thank you. Coming up, we're going to get reaction from Capitol Hill, where lawmakers, we said...
access to the White House.
We're live from the center of the political universe.
Capitol
Did you ever finish
My Democratic
Eddington?
source tonight is Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren. You don't get what you...
I did. It was great. Eddington was awesome. They have no solutions. They have no solutions. They just don't. Because the one solution to this is everyone is tackling this from the angle of everyone's tackling this from the angle of political violence, right? Which is understandable. This is an act of political violence, okay? It is unique in that regard. It's not the normal type of violence that you see. And I guess for an audience that is increasingly more receptive to consistently seeing little kids die in schools and shit, this is a different type of mass shooting, or not even a mass shooting. This is a different type of a shooting, all right? But overall, a solution not just for this, but just in general for all shootings is obvious, and none of these motherfuckers want to do that. So, Mamdani on the Charlie Kirk murder. Here's what he had to say.
I do want to take a moment to address the horrific political assassination that just occurred today in Utah. Charlie Kirk is dead, yet another victim of gun violence in a nation where what should be a rarity has turned into a plague. It cannot be a question of political agreement or alignment that allows us to mourn. It must be the shared notion of humanity that binds us all.
I need you to understand something. Charlie Kirk has said that Zohran Mamdani is responsible for 9/11 1 month ago, and has actually only ramped up the intensity of the violent rhetoric against Zohran Mamdani. Okay? Just remember that. When we talk about the violence, when we talk about who is victim of violence or who is engaging in violent rhetoric, okay? Charlie Kirk has all but called for the assassination of Zohran Mamdani by consistently saying that he and Muslims like him were responsible for 9/11. Just remember that. Those on the left, politically, are always expected to show kindness and grace, even to people who never show them an ounce of that in retaliation. Yeah. Look at this. This is what Charlie Kirk had to say when Zohran Mamdani won the Democratic primary. 24 years ago, a group of Muslims killed 2,753 people on 9/11. Now a Muslim socialist is on pace to run New York City. Jessica Tarkov responds says, Charlie, this is so gross and Islamophobic. Take it down. Debate me on the merits. Just don't throw out petty, thought-terminating cliches. This isn't 2015. That doesn't work anymore. What Muslim country do you prefer to live in, Jessica? What Western city or country has improved as the Muslim population has increased? America's largest city was attacked by radical Islam 24 years ago, and now a similar form of that pernicious force is poised to capture City Hall. Be courageous enough as a liberal to call it out. I know deep down you are worried about what he will do. You are just afraid to say it. Just, will CNN show this? Probably not. Do you understand why I think it's a little fucking disingenuous that liberal media looks at a guy like this and says, oh, he was a brilliant debater. Oh, he was such a good guy. He was the best guy. He was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Just the kind of guy that you would want running the country. You can be grossed out on the one hand by this violent act and believe that political violence or any kind of violence like this has no place in civilized society. Okay? Theoretically, of course, America's a very violent nation. I'm just saying in theory, it has no place. It feels out of place. It rips apart the social fabric. It makes you feel like you're unsafe. That's understandable. That's how I feel as well. But you don't have to fucking turn around and be like, this was the best guy that has ever existed. Okay? That's it. And it's clear that there are plenty of fucking people that are capable of doing that. So one must ask the question why CNN is incapable of doing that. Maybe it's because they don't give a fuck about this kind of stuff coming out of Charlie Kirk. And this is just one group, by the way. Key search trans to understand more. Key search abortion to understand what his opinion is about women's bodily autonomy. Key search migrants to understand how much death and destruction he wanted for the migrant labor force in this fucking country. Our neighbors. That's it. That's it. Why would CNN broadcast the worst things that some guy who just died said? Wouldn't that be promoting violence? No, dummy. No. I'm not saying he deserved to be shot either. Don't fucking try to slam words in my mouth. I'm saying have this in the back of your mind. Be cognizant of what kind of reputation you are laundering, unless you personally think that this kind of reputation laundering is worthwhile because you don't actually fear this kind of attitude taking hold in society. I doubt they would give you the same reception. Fuck no. I would get no reception. I don't expect that. I don't care. They're shying away from saying he was even a controversial figure. And the reason why they're doing that is because they're worried about the backlash from the right. But if this is his output, you obviously should be a little bit more careful in the way that you reflect upon this person's entire career, especially when you're talking about his political contributions. Do you understand? Because that is what his political contributions are. This doesn't mean he deserved to be shot and killed, but that's what his political contributions are. So if you turn around in the aftermath of his untimely demise and launder his reputation, you're basically saying, I like this political contribution. Or at the very least, I don't care that this is the political contribution that he has done to American discourse. It is a normalization of some of the most heinous, racist, fascist forms of thought.
Videos in regards to Charlie Kirk, and this video's for the fucking liberals. It's war, motherfuckers. We're coming for you. We're coming for you. And spare me your fucking self-righteous bullshit lectures. I don't give a fuck. We're coming for you. This video's in regards to Charlie Kirk, and this video's for the fucking liberals. It's war, motherfuckers. We're coming for you. We're coming for you. And spare me your fucking self-righteous bullshit lectures. I don't give a fuck.
People are so funny when they go, we should report him to the FBI. Yeah? So the FBI can fucking give your home address to the guy so he can come and kill you? The FBI is run by Kash Patel, brother. 2 days ago, Islam is the sword the left is using to slit the throat of America. That's the guy, man. Yeah. Controversial streamer who said America deserved 9/11 dies the gunshot wound by American patriot fearful of Islamic-style terrorism in the country. That's the headline. You're misunderstanding my point, chatters. My point is not that the media should reflect critically of Charlie Kirk's entire political contributions, but at the very least, they should be cognizant of said political contributions and not whitewash and launder his reputation. Anyway, let's get back to Zoran.
And that humanity, it reminds us that this news is not just that of the murder of a prominent political figure, but also the news of a wife who grieves her husband, of a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old who will grow up without a father, and the fact that there are families feeling that same anguish right now in Colorado as they wait for their children, also shot at a school, to emerge from surgery. It is the same anguish that too many across our city and our nation reckon with in silence every day as we contend with an epidemic of suffering. We can and we must do more to challenge a status quo that has allowed this pain to become routine.
Trump addresses the nation? What the fuck?
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination
He should have State of the Nation for this. That's crazy.
of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight, all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy.
Why is everybody saying AI? Why is everyone saying AI? Why would he cover his left hand if it was AI, chat?
Justice and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth.
I can't deal with this fucking community
Charlie
sometimes.
was also a man of deep, deep faith, and we take comfort in the knowledge that he is now at peace with God in heaven. Our prayers are with his wife, Erica, the 2 young, beloved children, and his entire family, who he loved more than anything in the world. We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain. This is a dark moment for America. Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. His mission was to bring young people into the political process, which he did better than anybody ever, to share his love of country and to spread the simple words of common sense. On campuses nationwide, he championed his ideas with courage, logic, humor, and grace. It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible.
Yeah, he's gonna be like, it's now illegal to criticize Republicans because otherwise, people shoot at Republicans sometimes. They shoot at Democrats mostly. They shoot at people apolitically, but it's now making it illegal to criticize Republicans, no matter how hard they say you should die.
For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yep. Laura Loomer. Here we go, baby. Oh, man. Remember what I told you? There's 2 different things that I'm worried about. One was decentralized violence from people who are seeking out revenge fantasies. And then I said, I also worry about the administration using this as an opportunity to engage in unimaginable political repression, going after political dissidents. Well, both of those things are happening.
Law enforcement officials and everyone else who brings order to our country. From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others, radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives. Tonight, I ask all Americans to commit themselves to the American values for which Charlie Kirk lived and died, the values of free speech, citizenship, the rule of law, and the patriotic devotion and love.
No mention of the Minnesota? Yeah, of course not. And also, if he were to mention it, he would say it's a radical leftist that killed them too. Also, free speech? Fuck you mean free speech, brother? What the fuck are you talking about? Your administration has unironically eroded what remained of the limited constitutional protections around free speech.
Love of God. Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country. An assassin tried to silence him with a bullet, but he failed because together we will ensure that his voice, his message, and his legacy will live on for countless generations to come. Today, because of this heinous act, Charlie's voice has become bigger and grander than ever before, and it's not even close. May God bless his memory, may God watch over his family, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Brother, when a Republican calls someone a terrorist, that person goes to jail. When a liberal calls someone a Nazi, that person feels bad for a brief moment until they realize, no, actually they are a Nazi, and that's good. Okay, I'm going to go back to 0.18 because there's a cut there, and that's the reason why it's
tonight,
AI.
All who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot.
I cannot begin to explain how stupid you guys are. Stop, dude. It's just a fucking different frame rate. Stop.
Horror. Charlie was a patriot.
It's just, bro, you are the stupid one. Oh my God. It's a little sus. I'm not going to lie. Dude, it most likely is artificially boosted like a filter.
Are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot.
Yeah, the tree moved when he moved his hands. I see it. The tree in the background moved when he moved his hands. One must ask the question, is this worthwhile to pursue? Okay? Is this AI? What if it is AI? What changes about the dynamic? Because some of you guys fail to comprehend that Donald Trump just used the Charlie Kirk assassination to say he is going to go after political dissidents. And some of you fucking morons in the chat are like, it's AI! What? Who cares? The president just officially declared war on political dissidents, and you're looking at some fucking Adobe Premiere artificially boosted artifacting that took place in the background of the video. Wake up! Donald Trump just addressed the nation in honor of Charlie Kirk and said, I'm going after every political dissident that criticizes the Republicans. And your fucking asses are focusing on AI. Anyway, obviously, Donald Trump is not a protector of free speech at all. And I think the reason why he mentioned this is because he's not a protector of free speech at all. And he mentioned this because he wants to go after any sort of free expression of political dissidents.
They are at war with us. Whether we want to accept it or not, they are at war with us. And what are we going to do about it?
Kara, what do you make of that rhetoric?
I'm not at war with Jesse Waters or Steve Bannon or anything else. I think it's dangerous, and I think what happens is it gets amplified and weaponized online. I've talked about this a lot, and then it just goes on, and it goes into the right-wing conspiracy. We don't know anything right now, and so why don't we wait until we figure out what happened here, at the same time, lower the temperature. And it's very hard to do that online because it's so attractive to scream and yell and dunk, and sometimes it's funny, but much of the time, like this, it's incredibly ugly.
There's, Doni, you've looked into this a lot. I mean, there's not only a whole ecosystem, but there's profit to be made in outrage on all sides of a political aisle.
Yeah, massively. And I mean, just saw those comments from the president right now on set. I was going to say, when it comes to the talking heads on MAGA media, you can understand potentially, many of them were personal friends with Kirk, maybe, in the heat of the moment today. What I was going to say was hopefully the president would maybe try and calm things a little bit, but clearly that doesn't seem to be the case. And look, this is precisely what, I guess, the mantra that many in the MAGA sphere push every day, that the country is at war, that the left is trying to violently attack you. And so I guess it's unfortunately not surprising it's being pushed in this way.
Yeah. Kara, we only have like 30 seconds left, but it's interesting to me that Charlie Kirk, and again, whatever you thought of what he was arguing, he was in the arena. He was in the arena. He was in the right, and there's that Charlie Kirk, again, whatever you thought of what he was arguing, he was in the arena. He was right.
Okay, we're gonna skip that. I don't know what the fuck's going on there. Let's take a look at what Sean Hannity's
with
saying.
His wife and his children and his entire family as the country now mourns what is a tragic loss. Now, moments ago, President Trump just released a video online reacting and addressing the nation from the Oval Office regarding Charlie's assassination. We will play that for you momentarily. It was just released. But first, President Trump first reported the news on Truth Social. This is what he wrote. The great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me, and now he is no longer with us. Melania, and my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife, Erica, and family. Charlie, we love you. We'll play his comments in a minute. Also, President Trump ordered all American flags to be flown at half-staff now through 6 p.m. on Sunday. And tonight, the manhunt for the shooter continues after one subject was brought into custody but released after an interrogation with law enforcement. According to the FBI Director, Kash Patel, I hope this individual is found swiftly, brought to justice, and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Tonight, as we try to make sense of what is a senseless act of violence, we are filled with sadness, outrage, anger, rightly so, righteous indignation. You know, at what point do we finally say in this country, enough is enough? And let me be very clear here. This needs to stop. What we saw today was a political assassination. We're not going to show the video. Most of you probably have seen it online. It is horrific to watch. As Utah Governor Spencer Cox said in no uncertain terms during an emotional press conference this evening. Take a look.
This is a dark day for our state. It's a tragic day for our nation. And I want to be very clear that this is a political assassination. Charlie Kirk was first and foremost a husband and a dad to 2 young children. He was also very much politically involved, and that's why he was here on campus. Charlie believed in the power of free speech and debate to shape ideas and to persuade people. Historically, our university campuses in this nation and here in the state of Utah have been the place where truth and ideas are formulated and debated, and that's what he does. He comes on college campuses and he debates. That is foundational to the formation of our country, to our most basic constitutional rights. And when someone takes the life of a person because of their ideas or their ideals, then that very constitutional foundation is threatened. But I want to make it crystal clear right now, to whoever did this, we will find you, we will try you, and we will hold you accountable to the furthest extent of the law. And I just want to remind people that we still have the death penalty here in the state of Utah.
Now, we don't yet know about the circumstances surrounding today's assassination of Charlie Kirk. This does have all the earmarks of a political assassination. All Charlie wanted to do, and he did so bravely, he did it passionately, he did it with vigor, he did it with intelligence, was offer for many on college campuses validation for their political beliefs, young people around the country. He often went into very hostile environments on liberal college campuses. He went there to have a dialogue. He'd always answer any and all questions. He challenged the institutionalized liberal indoctrination of many of these campuses. We have discussed this throughout the years. I thought college campuses were supposed to be bastions of freedom of speech, you know, the safe space, to use a liberal term, for free and open.
I'm going to keep it $1.50. Is there any difference between what Sean Hannity is saying and what you have heard so far from CNN? Have you noticed that?
Why? Again, we don't know.
Is there any difference whatsoever?
Motivation behind this shooting, but common sense will tell you that the odds are very, very high. This is political in nature. We will learn more in the coming days and weeks ahead. But I would argue that tonight is really not the night to show, which I can do. I can do hours.
Interesting.
While expressing his political views. It happened on a college campus where open exchange of opposing ideas should be sacrosanct. Violence and vitriol must be purged from the public square. And members of other political parties are not our enemies. They are our fellow citizens. May Charlie Kirk's memory be a blessing, and our prayers are with his family, his friends, and those who loved him tonight. And as we come on the air this evening, we're hearing from President Trump, who just posted a video recorded from the Oval Office tonight.
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight, all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there has never been anyone who was so respected by youth. Charlie was also a man of deep, deep faith, and we take comfort in the knowledge that he is now at peace with God in heaven. Our prayers are with his wife, Erica, the two young, beloved children, and his entire family, who he loved more than anything in the world. We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain. This is a dark moment for America. Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. His mission was to bring young people into the political process, which he did better than anybody ever, to share his love of country and to spread the simple words of common sense. On campuses nationwide, he championed his ideas with courage, logic, humor, and grace. It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country. From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others, radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives. Tonight, I ask all Americans to commit themselves to the American values for which Charlie Kirk lived and died, the values of free speech, citizenship, the rule of law, and the patriotic devotion and love of God. Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country. An assassin tried to silence him with a bullet, but he failed, because together we will ensure that his voice, his message, and his legacy will live on for countless generations to come. Today, because of this heinous act, Charlie's voice has become bigger and grander than ever before, and it's not even close. May God bless his memory. May God watch over his family. And may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Those are the words from President Trump on the murder of Charlie Kirk today, someone who obviously was a leading advocate of his, an ally of his. And tonight, as we are still very much covering the investigation of what happened today and who is responsible for Charlie Kirk's murder, I want to begin with CNN's chief law enforcement and intelligence analyst, John Miller. Because, John, obviously there's a lot of questions on what's happening with this investigation right now.
Just said,
given what we are now hearing
fire
tonight, this update from the FBI director that they have released this person of interest who was in custody.
So it's been a fast-moving investigation, but also one with some false starts. Caitlin, you've got an individual who went to a rooftop dressed in dark clothing, found a sniper's perch, and made a very long shot, a single shot that resulted in this assassination. Reviewing security camera video, they found someone who had similar clothing who was in the area. We don't know the full details of how they got from that video to that individual, and had that person in custody as a person of interest, and determined that in their belief this was not the shooter. That brings them back to square one. We refer to it as a manhunt, but in the manhunt, as you and I most often talk about them, it's you know who the person is and you have a dragnet out searching for them. In this case, there is another person of interest, but that's again someone that they want to talk to, someone they want to investigate, but not someone that they have enough evidence on to charge right away. So this is a very difficult case for the authorities in Utah and the FBI.
So is it clear if anyone is in custody right now, or is the answer still no based on what we know so far?
Based on what we know so far, they have somebody they're interested in who, according to my sources, when I last spoke to them, was not in custody. But, in a case like this, you're looking for someone who has detachment and a lack of empathy, who likes to be in control. The offender characteristics of the assassin sniper are something that's been studied very closely, especially by the Secret Service. And it's someone who's methodical and patient, self-reliant. In other words, Caitlin, this is the kind of person who would have planned to get in silently, try to be invisible, take this shot, accomplish the mission, take the gun with them, and leave little evidence behind, which is why I think they're having a very difficult time getting started on this. This is someone who was a planner.
And John, also what stood out to me from what we heard from officials earlier was they said it was a single shot that was fired. It wasn't multiple shots in Charlie Kirk's direction. They said it was about 200 yards away from where he was sitting under that tent. What does that tell you about the person's familiarity with firearms?
That tells you that the person is not new to shooting, that they understood exactly what type of long rifle to bring, what kind of optics in terms of scopes and sights to have on that, what the windage was that might affect a shot from that distance. This is someone who knew exactly what they were doing and is probably known to others, and this may be working to the advantage of law enforcement, as someone who has a long history in shooting. This wasn't an amateur.
John Miller, if you learn more, please come back and join us tonight. Thank you so much for bringing us that reporting. Also here is Eva Terry. She's a reporter for Utah's Deseret News, who was on the ground at this event when the shooting happened. And first off, let me say, Eva, I'm so sorry for what you had to...
I mean, this is pretty crazy. Like, you're not going to mention that Donald Trump is saying that he's going to war with the left ideology? Like, they just keep going back and forth on the details of the incident. I know I initially said that this wasn't like, as time is passing, the more I look at this shooting in great detail, the more weird it gets. That's all I'm saying. Shooter has a clear-cut vantage point, no security, direct one shot, one kill. There's an incident that takes place in the aftermath of the shooting where there's like a crazy guy that's yelling that draws a lot of the attention of the police. And then in the process of like drawing that attention, the shooter runs away. They have at this point apprehended 2 different people and released the second person. The first one they just put in prison for the first one they put in prison for, what do you call it? For obstruction of justice. There are cameras everywhere. There are cameras everywhere on college campus. There were a ton of people everywhere on this college campus. Very strange situation. Admittedly, if you were going to go crazy at some point after seeing someone get a hole blown in their neck is a good time. They haven't released any surveillance camera footages. Yeah, I just don't understand it. That I don't understand. There is a consistent surveillance. There's mass surveillance. But yeah, the president is laying a pretext for investigations and other actions against a currently undefined group of people and organizations in the wake of Kirk's murder in ways he has not for other murders. As much as Edward Isaac Dover despises me, ironically enough, I would fall victim to this kind of investigation, and he probably wouldn't have an issue with that. He's right. This is a truly terrifying statement that he just put out there, and it seems like CNN's not really talking about it. Do I think Kirk will be MAGA's Horst Wessel? Yes, I do. I think it's happening right now. I don't think the media hagiography will have to move the needle. For instance, the Facebook squishy libs are not buying it from what I can tell. I mean, there isn't the same level of like anger and resentment towards Charlie Kirk. And so there isn't the, like a lot of people that are aware of his worldview are not as they're disturbed about the incident, but they're not as like, let's just say sad, right? But plenty of people don't know about Charlie Kirk's background at all. They only know him as just like an influencer that owns the libs or whatever. You're in the top 3 most liked comments under Trump's post. What do you mean? What are you talking about? What did you just link me? If there are a lot of people who are just encountering Charlie Kirk for the first time today, they're going to be hearing a lot of positive coverage. People are going to be encountering Charlie Kirk for the first time with statements like, oh, he's just like a positive force for American politics. He just wanted to bring people. He wanted to bring a diversity of opinion. He wanted to simply debate people. New York Times has another POV of the possible shooter on the rooftop, by the way. Let's take a look. No, it's not another POV. It's the same one that we just showed. Remember you guys said it was a speck of dust? No. Yeah, you said that. No, I read someone else's comment in the chat and I said, I don't think that's the case. See, even a chatter apologized for calling it a speck of dust. I was so wrong. Y'all are, anyway. The man next to him in the white hat tips his hat, then starts recording a few seconds before he gets shot. What? Why are you stifling debate on the issue of the speck of dust? Okay, stop. The first reply here to this? What? It's not. It's just this. Why do you guys keep saying that the first reply to this is what? I don't understand. Why don't you just link me the fucking reply? It was someone asking him to arrest you? I don't see it. Oh, it's this. President Trump, please arrest and deport Hasan Piker for encouraging this level of violence. Guy whose username, Imperium First, political extremist, America First, Christ is King. Do I think this is a groiper and that everyone is like overplaying their hands? It doesn't matter. Even if it's a groiper, the Republicans will shut the fuck up and move on to the next thing. So it don't matter. No, not this person. This person is a groiper. I'm saying, what is this going viral? What is happening? Before people say, wear a bulletproof vest. Oh, yeah. Again, he got shot in the neck. A bulletproof vest would not have saved Charlie Kirk. Okay. Security did not save Charlie Kirk. The only thing that could have potentially saved Charlie Kirk from getting shot in the neck was if our administrations, prior to this one and this one as well, actually had reasonable gun control as a policy provision in the immediate aftermath of, I don't know, 100 other school shootings that took place. This is why I keep responding over and over again to people that go, hey man, why don't you get security? Hey man, why don't you get a vest? There's nothing. None of those things will save you. They're going to attack South Park for sure. Even if it's a groiper, they will still call them far left. They still maintain that Vance Belter was left wing. Yeah. That's all they do. They just lie about everything. They lie about everything. It don't matter. They're going to blame South Park. They're going to blame the left. And it's very obvious that Donald Trump is going to it has already signaled that he's using this death.
Grief and anger at the...
Can you update this post to state that the school shooting took place today as well, just to further highlight the point you made? I already did. Anyway, he called Charlie Kirk a martyr in the video. It's just, things are going to get so much worse, dude. So much fucking worse. And I fear that the liberals are letting it happen a little bit.
Let's use this for something positive and productive as we lift up in prayer Charlie's widow and young children and everybody involved in this.
But I wonder, given that's what happened in the House of Representatives in a moment where you're just trying to call for a moment of silence, that people might see that and hear your words tonight and say, you sound more optimistic than others about turning it down or reaching that moment. What would you say to people who are skeptical about it?
Well, I understand the skepticism, but I do think we all need to be optimists. We're going to channel, Abraham Lincoln. Let us really appeal to our better angels. We're in a pivotal moment as a nation. We're coming up on our 250th birthday. We're still at a grand experiment in self-governance. We don't know how long this grand experiment will last. We don't have a monarch. We don't have a king to sort things out. It's government of, by, and for the people ourselves. It means the people should be engaged. They should be informed. They should engage in thoughtful debate, as Charlie Kirk was a model and a leader in. But at the end of the day, you can't take that home and you can't hate the person on the other side. We're all in this together. And we do well to remember that. And when we do, then we are optimistic because we remember what's great about our country.
Well, and the point we were making at the beginning of the show was that he was having debates with people who, a lot of people don't like his viewpoints or disagreed with them, but he debated with those people who didn't. And, you know, you talked about members being worried about their security. Understandably, they get a lot of threats.
Yep.
And, you know, just judges, we see this all the time. The president mentioned judges there. We've seen how that's happened and that's played out. What would you say to your members about the importance of having those face-to-face conversations with people they disagree with?
Well, I've been talking about this, you know, since before I got to Congress, almost 9 years ago. My first act as a member of Congress was to draft a document called the Commitment to Civility. We got every member of the freshman class except one person that year in 2017 to sign on, Republicans and Democrats. And the idea was we're going to have differences of opinion, but we have to treat one another with dignity and respect. That's not your enemy, that's your fellow American and colleague. Basically follow the golden rule. I mean, I'm an advocate of that, have been consistently all the time. I think we should engage the debate. I think it's incumbent upon, particularly members of Congress, to go out into that free marketplace of ideas and share their thoughts and take and receive and have dialogue with people who disagree. That's the beauty of America. We don't censor and silence disfavorable viewpoints.
And people speak to their representatives.
Of course, but as you've seen how town halls have devolved now into these, you know, shout fests, there's not productive dialogue. So, you know, there's fault on all sides, but everybody needs to take a slow and steady account of that. I think as Governor Cox said in Utah today, he said, you know, let's evaluate who we are and who we want to be. He's right about that. Now's a time of reflection for America. We can stop this and stop the trend, but we just got to respect one another.
House Speaker Mike Johnson, thank you for joining us here tonight on SAP.
How can you, like, how can anybody claim to be a fucking journalist and have the current Republican Party say, like, we value free speech in this country, we value fostering debate in this country, while they are the administration that's, like, threatening to deport people for fucking being anti-Israel? Like, what are we doing? Like, really? That's not an inconsistency that you want to address here right now? Donald Trump just said he's launching a war against the left and any kind of, like, liberal left flank organizing that takes place, using Charlie Kirk's death as a moment of martyrdom. And these CNN liberals are just, like, not even addressing that. They're giving the same favorable obituaries, talking about how Charlie Kirk was just a debate guy. He simply wanted the debate. He simply wanted to foster conversations, productive discourse, all this shit. Fox and CNN are fucking identical in their coverage of their coverage of Charlie Kirk's obituary. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I feel like I'm living in an alternate reality where I see something differently than these guys do. Obviously, my expectation isn't that they just, like, are you going to say why they're identical? Yes, it's because they clearly don't give a shit. I need you to understand something. My expectation isn't to be like, Charlie Kirk was a bad dude and he deserved to die. Like, that's not what they're going to say. Of course they're not going to say that. But Brian Stelter's assessment here is literally identical to Fox News. Okay? Charlie Kirk was a hugely successful political field organizer, TikTok influencer, radio host, nonprofit leader, and public speaker, all rolled up into one telegenic figure. Charlie Kirk pioneered a new model for conservative political advocacy, merging multi-platform media commentary with in-person gatherings and get-out-the-vote drives, earning the envy of his rivals on the left. Here's our first take on his impact. Like, just say that he was a conservative firebrand here. Okay, these are some of the words that you can use to signal that this person, to your base, is not a person that you agree with ideologically. You say he was a conservative firebrand. A lot of statements that he made were quite impactful and in certain instances drew both ire and envy. Okay? If I am a news producer, I'm going to put my fucking news producer cap on for a second. That's how I talk about it. Okay? Conservative firebrand Charlie Kirk had many inflammatory moments. His commentary was quite impactful and actually caused him to become a loyal ally to the Trump administration, which saw his commentary as invaluable. Okay? Charlie Kirk was an opponent of gun control, said that gays should be stoned to death. Okay, maybe not that part. You don't have to say those things. But, like, you don't have to just be like, he's amazing, he's the best. Breaking two of the biggest freaks online are teaming up again. Oh, here we fucking go. Anyone surprised that Charlie Kirk hasn't been paying attention? Go anywhere, Reddit, Twitter, etc. You'll find thousands of unhinged direct calls to violence over politics. I'm gonna get fucking killed, dude. I swear to God. Holy shit. To go beyond the political violence. Kirk didn't pioneer anything. He just professionalized and monetized it. Can we do a vote on whether you should hire security? Oh my fucking Lord, dude. We have reached new levels of parasocialism. Can we run a vote in the chat?
In my boys. Corner where the big boys play.